So I had $8 and not a lot of self-control or self-respect and decided to purchase the Longbeards DLC. The idea of Week 2 DLC doesn't really sit very well with me, and that's kind of why I held off on a couple of days to buy it, but eventually I was playing with Attila and TWR and some other players, and they kind of convinced me to buy it. So I purchased it. So far, I'm pretty happy with the rosters. I think the Longbeards and the Burgundians are really cool. I think the Allemans are kind of useless, even though I haven't really gotten much chance to play with them. Longbeards have a really awesome roster. The Burgundians are a really cool skirmish faction. I'll talk about both these factions a little bit later on. I'm playing with TWR right now. He's going to be playing as the Burgundians. I'm on the Longbeards with a map, from Blade Master. This is in the Gulf of Oman, actually. Probably one of the coolest maps in the game I've seen yet. I'll leave the coordinates in the description below. But let's get into the replay. So, my idea of this game with TWR, who's a really strong tournament player, probably one of the best players in the entire community, was I was gonna basically focus on the infantry. And you can see right here I brought 2 horse slayers on each flank, and they're gonna be backing up the Royal Lancers in melee combat. And they have a bonus of 40 versus large, versus other cavalry units and elephants. So when you use these in tandem with powerful cavalry like the Royal Burgundian Lancers, a lot of damage can be done there. So basically our whole idea is to have the Royal Lancers engage with their 265 charge bonus, and once they get into combat, horse heroes come in and clean up the enemy cavalry. Now, our opponents have made some mistakes in their builds, and one of the biggest issues for our Visigoth opponents are that they brought Typhali cavalry, which are really not worth their cost at all. They cost, I don't actually remember how much they cost. It might be 750 talents, at least in single player, but kind of low melee attack, less health than a lot of other melee units. If you look at Germanic Horsemen, they have 245 health. These guys have 205. Really, the only reason they cost what they do is because they have 2 ammunition on their bows, but they're medium melee cavalry, which means they get beaten up by Germanic Horsemen or some other cheaper cavalry units that are higher mass. So that's not a good cavalry usage from them. It's not a good unit for them to bring. Typhali cavalry are pretty effing useless, to be honest. So our other opponent brought some noble Germanic horsemen. Another issue they're having with their builds right now is that this guy brought a ton of pikes, which in and of itself is not generally a bad idea, but when you don't have any good range units to back them up, that kind of becomes a problem. These Visigothic slingers not going to do particularly well versus my crossbows. So if he tries to make me run into the front of his pikes, it's not really going to work because I have the skirmish advantage. And when you bring a lot of pikes, and as the Burgundians actually like to bring a ton of pikes, and you'll see that in my next replay, it isn't really useful to have crappy skirmish units because you're not going to be able to bait your opponent to attack you with that. I'm going to win the skirmish fight, which means he's going to have to come to me. But as you can see, horse skewers out on the flanks. I'm going to talk about the horse slayers for a second. These units are pretty ridiculous. They have a 40 bonus for large, like I said, but they also have a charge bonus of 62, which means they wreck enemy melee infantry as well. It's kind of scary what they're capable of doing. As long as they don't get charged or shot by enemy skirmishers, they do a lot of damage, and they're really, really versatile units. As we go into melee combat here, the Typhali cavalry are going to go into wedge formation, looks like, and the Burgundian Royal Lancers going to charge up the center into the Typhali. And you can see off the charge, I mean, these Typhali are just going to drop precipitously. Like, there's really nothing they can do about that. The Royal Lancers are just so much better in combat. And with that 265 charge bonus, the highest charge bonus in the entire game, not going to go well for Typhali at all. So we should be able to win this cav fight pretty easily. And, I mean, it's going to be even easier with the fact that the horse slayers are in combat as well. So, basically what I try to do here, it's really important when you're fighting against enemy cav units to pull your infantry, like certainly ones with high bonus versus large, a little bit closer to the engagement. Sometimes what I like to do is actually not pull through, well, kind of pull through my spear unit or my horse slayers or whatever unit I'm using, get them through the engagement so that they're more caught up in the middle of the melee combat. A lot of times they'll just kind of stop at the edge and they won't be killing a lot of guys, but if you pull through and get them into the middle of the engagement, that's when they really start doing a lot of damage. So this should be a really easy cav fight for us, and once we win that, should be able to come around the flank and wrap up around here. In the middle, looks like some Royal Lancers went up the center into the Germanic Spearmasters who are not braced. Really good charge from Danko right there. Good use of the cavalry, and you can see decimated. 70 kills off the charge. Very, very nice. And I'm going to follow that up with some of my horse slayers, which are really, this is not really where I want them to be, because they're going to get charged directly by Thracian warriors, and that's not a good use of them. I kind of lost track of them. I thought they were a normal sword unit. They should have been out on the flanks helping Denko win against the noble Germanic horsemen over there. So this was a mistake. They're going to get charged by Volksmen, kind of going to get beaten up right here. Another horse slayer, again, same mistake, right into Thracian warriors. They're going to get wrecked off the charge because they have really low armor at 20. You can kind of see like they're just wearing, they're kind of naked at the moment, at least in their upper body. So they don't have a lot of armor, going to get pooped on by Thracian warriors on the charge. Mistake right there. But Danko focused on the cavalry this game, so he had both of his cavalry flanks kind of engaged at the moment. Sent them into the noble Germanic horsemen, which are actually shoved up to 3 gold. In the center, the horse player is doing well, and my crossbows are shooting in. So, basically, idea behind my build, of course the horse players were on the flanks to help win cav fights. In the center, the Godansmen, really cost-effective medium infantry unit, have a poor missile block chance, but very decent charge bonus with 37, and very high attack with 52. So, I like the Godansmen a lot, but then, of course, the really well-known infantry unit for the Longbeards, are the Godan's Chosen, and these guys are ridiculous. And they cost a lot, 975 talents, but 75 melee attack, high charge bonus of 40, 50 melee damage. Really, really good unit. And they can go berserk, which is a really cool feature about them as well. So I really like the melee units for the Longbeards. I think they're a lot of fun to use. But we're really winning this cav battle over on this flank. And now the infantry engagement in the center is going to start. And this is going to be a fun infantry engagement for me, because Godansmen up against these Gothic warband should do very well, and backed up by the Godan's Chosen, the Germanic nobles, going to do very, very well in combat. So the Gothic warband got kind of tied up on one of my Spearmaster units, just used them to tie them down, and now you can see Godan's Chosen charging in. These guys are going to absolutely run train on Gothic warband. It's not even going to be a competition here. You're going to see how fast they drop. Also have my Germanic nobles tied up in there as well. But you can see my skirmish units and some of Danko's skirmish units shooting into the flanks of the Gothic warband, who are chasing after these Germanic archers. Not where this guy wants to be. He's turning his flank. They're getting kind of wrecked over there. And my crossbow units are now going to start shooting into the Gothic pikemen. So these guys are very susceptible to missiles. You can see I have 2 or 3 crossbow units shooting them. They've already routed because their general's dead. And look at that, -6 morale with the morale penalty stacks. They're going to rout off the field with almost full strength. And then my crossbows just all across the line, going to start shooting into the Gothic warband and the pikes. And against the Godan's Chosen, who also have a fear aura effect. I'm just stacking so many morale penalties. They're at -50 morale. Gothic pikemen routing under a fire attack right here, and the entire line for the enemy is just going to completely break. So this wasn't really a fair battle. I mean, Danko, like I said, is an extremely strong player. This was just a random battleless battle. But I did think that it showed the, well, you haven't seen the kills on the horse skewers yet, but you will in a second. I believe they each got 50 kills on enemy cavalry, which was insane. And just the fear aura stacking of the Godan's Chosen and the general dying and my flaming shot, and just our use of cavalry, backing them up with horse skewers and taking good engagements, kind of just caused a complete mass rout. Battle's going to go a little bit longer here because some of their units are going to stay in the fight, but our opponent over on the other side routed very quickly, and the only thing that's going to keep them in the fight is the noble Germanic horsemen, who are now under flaming attack as well. But yeah, I mean, the melee engagement, it just kind of shattered for them. Like, it did not go very well for them at all, with all those fire arrows coming in and all the morale penalty stacking. Made them really, really sad, and we are going to take back the Gulf of Oman. You can see some of the Godan's Chosen here, up to 91 kills. A little bit of friendly fire going on, but wrecking pretty much any enemy infantry unit they're going to come across. So I'm not going to do a review of this DLC. Like I said, Week 2 DLC, Week 1 DLC, not my favorite thing in the world. But I will say that this is one of the better faction packs they've released. If I compare it to the Black Sea Colony DLC for Rome 2, I definitely think the units are more interesting, the factions are more diverse and fun to use. And there are a lot of unique units in them, which I think is important if you're going to release a faction pack. If there's only 1 or 2 unique units, not very interesting at all. But the Godans chosen are very worthwhile. The Godansmen are pretty cool. Horse skewers are awesome. You can see 57 kills and 53 kills. These were the guys backing up the Royal Burgundian Lancers. So much damage. And that's, again, it's against Typhali cavalry. But, I mean, with a 40 bonus versus large, it doesn't matter what enemy cavalry units you're fighting with them. If you're up against any cav unit in the game and you don't get charged with a horse slayer and you use them to back up your own cavalry, you can win a lot of cavalry engagements you wouldn't normally be able to. So deploying them on the flanks is really nice, and once you win the cav fight, that allows them to come in with their huge charge bonus when units are already engaged, get a rear charge off, do a lot of damage. So, like I said, very versatile unit. I will bring a Burgundian replay to you guys next. They are a different faction than the Longbeards, obviously, but they play very differently. They focus more on the cavalry and skirmish side of things, as you can kind of see with the scattershot hurlers of the Germanic archers and the cav. He brought 6 Royal Lancers here. They play very, very differently than the Longbeards, who are a very infantry-focused faction. They do have the benefit of having Germanic horsemen, of course, which can always be used to win a cavalry fight, but definitely more focused on the infantry, and that's why we kind of tailored our builds to their strengths, where I brought all the infantry here, and Danko brought all the cavalry and skirmishers. Hope you guys enjoyed that battle. There was a quite good Burgundian replay I'll be bringing you guys next, and I'm just going to show you the stats right here of our opponents. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you all later. Indy Pride, signing out.